Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Shamans Cave. I'm Renee Baribeau.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sandra Ingerman, and welcome to the Shamans Cave.
We thought before we hopped into the subject, we would explain what it means to subscribe. And I think Sandra said a couple of weeks ago that when you hit subscribe, it helps us support the show financially. And what we mean by that is right now, I think we're at 11,000 plus 11,500 subscribers. But when you start getting up to 13, 15, 20,000, what happens is they start to market your program out as an ad to other places. And yeah, we all hate ads, but then we get a little bit of money back every time someone watches an ad. So if the ad comes on, you don't have to click off, just watch it. You don't have to click to them, but it just really, it helps like really it's minimally. Let me just tell you, we get about $150 a month from that. And, in full transparency, both Sandra and I contribute every single month from our own wallets to put the show on. And we are really invested in it. But we do like when we get donations, that's always welcome. We have some people who have been donating $11.11 for years. I mean, it's just comes right out of their monthly subscription thing. And we appreciate all that. And you don't have to if you can't afford to. But what you can all afford to do is hit subscribe.
Yeah, and I think in the shamanic community, and I can speak to this because I remember when we first got on email and how everybody was freaked out in the shamanic community that they were losing their privacy, that the government was getting all their information. And I was trying to explain to everybody that the government already had all and I think there's something about that, about the subscribe button, that if you subscribe, you're going to be on people's email lists. You're going to be, no, it just means you push the button subscribe and YouTube finds out that not your name, that just more people are watching the Shaman's Cave. So please don't get paranoid. It's really, there's no privacy issues with this. It's really just a way to show YouTube that the Shaman's Cave is worth supporting, period. And if the subscriptions don't come in, YouTube just says the show's not worth supporting. And it's just as simple as that.
That, and they love when you comment. One of the things that I'm going to roll out a little bit later, not quite yet, is that I'm going to change the time that we launched the show, and I'm going to actually watch it with you. We pre-record it, but I'm going to watch it with you so we can actually have a conversation. And, when Sandra's available, she can come over there too. But you actually have a community conversation, and YouTube loves that. So I tried it today with another podcast that I manage at work. And so I'm going to try it with us because we have, don't tell my boss, but we have thousands more subscribers and followers than he does. And so I think with our show, if we start watching it live with you, we're going to get into some really good communication. And that's my goal for season 5. I can't even believe we're getting ready to come on to season 5 in January, but
oh my God.
I know. And I may try it out in December, so I'll let you know before we do it, but that's coming in the future too. We want to keep it alive. We want to keep it fresh. We want to keep it relevant for you. So keep those suggestions coming because we really read every little last email, every last comment. I respond to them. Sandra responds to them. And, we really appreciate you taking this journey with us.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're trying to engage community here. And it's going to go, our conversation is going to flow into the 2 shows that we're going to be, Renee and I are recording 2 shows today. And this conversation actually flows right into it.
Perfect. I like that. Do you want to announce what we're going to be talking about?
Absolutely. So I was telling Renee before we pushed the record button that I'm always on summits and always trying to get the work out there, and also speak from a rational place, because I'm starting to get emails about people who have very limited knowledge on shamanism, who are teaching, who are giving the wildest exercises and things to do that are crazy, and nobody understands them. They're hurting people. And so I tried to keep doing summits, even though my body sometimes asks me not to, because there's so much misinformation out there about shamanism. And I think shamanism has so much power to help in the coming times and to help us right now, but not to do crazy exercises that start hurting people. That's not the point of what this work is about. And so I've really appreciated the topics that people are asking to talk about on summits recently. This is just very recently, is how do we bring balance back into our lives again? So Renee, how do you bring balance back into your life again?
As soon as you mentioned that conversation, I was thinking about on Saturday when I took a walk. I had done, in the morning, I had been the Zoom host for our local HOA Water Association meeting. So I don't know if I think, am I moving into politics, but was some of the things we've seen where school boards have been filled with people who don't have the same viewpoints as us. I thought, like, well, maybe it's just naturally happening that my going on to the water board, because I think water is going to be such an important issue in the coming years, is really relevant. So I was walking up the street, and I had this despacho I had made about 2 months ago, but then we had the fire ban. So I couldn't build a big enough fire to burn it, but I knew my neighbors were having a fire. And I checked in on them, they're like, is it appropriate to bring this despacho over to their house where they're having a big neighborhood fire, and ask if it was all right if I put it in? And so I put it in a brown paper bag. And so for me, the balance was taking the walk, going over to neighbors that I really have very little in common with to start with, except that they live down the street, and asking them. I said to the woman, I go, hey, I've got something I got to throw on the fire. Do you think it's okay? She goes, oh, that fire is really hot right now, Renee. And what I realized was that everyone sitting around there was very respectful about that I threw in something that I had created in a ceremony. Everyone stopped talking. Everyone watched. And so for me, coming in balance is realizing that I need to find the commonalities between me and the people who are closest to me. We didn't talk politics or anything like that. We talked about, well, I'm going to burn this, and then I got a plate of food. And then I said, all right, I'm going to continue on my walk now. And it was just, I felt so good afterwards. And so for me, balance is when I feel really good about how I'm living in harmony with my land, my neighbors, and my community.
I like that. And that community aspect is so important, because I think one of the reasons that people are moving out of balance right now is the world is too big. If you start taking in everything that's happening in the world right now, there's no way. I mean, there are spiritual masters who can do this, who can walk through the world and watch everything that's happening. I've shared this actually on the show before. Back in the 1980s, I got a surprise teacher in my shamanic journeys, and it was the goddess Inanna. And I knew nothing about the goddess Inanna, and I was also quite nervous about the goddess Inanna because, she's got a hard side to her, like many of the divine feminine can. And she only came into my life for one purpose. She came every day in my journeys. Back then, I used to journey every single day. And she had me walk through the most desolate country that I can imagine, without letting me look left to right. I had to look straight ahead, and I had to keep moving my feet forward. And she walked with me. She never said a word to me. She walked with me. We did this journey every day for over a year before she left. And her message was clear. She never talked to me, but it was about whatever happens, no matter how things get, don't look left and don't look right. Just keep walking straight. And I think what's happening right now is people's vision it's like we're trying to get more eyes, almost like dragonflies, where dragonflies have something like over 1 billion eyes. And their perception of what they can see. And, we're trying to look in too many directions, but that wasn't the sense that we were born with. We were not born with that many eyes. And so we have to look at what can we do in the body that we have. And for me, the practice of shamanism is how I stay balanced. And my journeys, being able to have direct revelation to divine beings who have a completely, they're not even close to the perception that our minds have, because our minds are kicking in right now because they're scared and they're trying to control. So our minds are going out there thinking they're in control of our reality. And if we could step aside and say to Spirit, can you give me some guidance right now? Can you give me some tools? I'm scared. Can you give me a different way of seeing things? That immediately brings balance into your life and calms down your mind. And I was telling Renee, for me, part of that is performing ceremonies where we step out of our mind and we step out of our ego and we become one with the creative forces of the universe. And every time we perform a shamanic ceremony, like I wrote about in the Book of Ceremony, really easy ceremonies to do, it brings you back to a place of stability and back to a place of center. And then the healing with spiritual light that I teach, which is more about how you live your life in the world, how you live a simple life, and how the practice of transfiguration, which we've talked about, brings us back into our spiritual self. And so we have so many ways, including how I'm watching, and I think, Renee, we talk about this, you're seeing this too. There are some of our students and some people who listen to our shows that have gotten so embedded into nature that they actually stepped into a different reality. They actually don't live in this reality anymore. Have you seen that out there?
Yeah, I think that was one of the, when I'm finishing up the 10-month apprenticeship, and there's some people who are just so nature bound that it was even hard, it was hard for them to engage in some of our other activities. And yet I never ever felt that they weren't participating. It was kind of because I would kind of do a scan to see where people would be and stuff. And there were certain people loved the activities when I'd say, okay, it's time to go outside and rearrange your altar. Now that would light up somebody as opposed to some of the writing exercises. And to understand that balance includes both of those people, the ones who are more verbal and then the ones who are the nature centric. And one of the things that we do in the Wind Clan, and always, and I'm going to say 100% always, 3 wind breaths brings me back into my body, into the present moment, and it's without fail. And one time I was working with somebody who was bipolar, and when they would start to go into that manic state, I would say, all right, come on, get your wind whistle out. And I would do that exercise. And sure enough, they would start to breathe a little bit regularly. They would bring down their, because a good signal if you're out of balance is that you're not breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that this tool really was about self-soothing and self-regulation as much as, the divination that we're going to learn in a divination class and things like that. But that as a personal tool of self-regulation, this wind whistle or wind breathing is a really great tool to get yourself back calm.
Yeah, and I teach the same principle of finding a power song that you can sing. People are, we put ourselves down, most of us. There are people who love to sing, and there are people who love to write songs. But most of us I don't know how to sing, I can't write, all the things we like to tell ourselves. And, shamans, before they work, it's really important for them to step away from their mind, because once the mind gets into a healing session, the healing session is basically polluted, because the spirits do the healing work, not the mind. And so there's so much that's done to get the mind out of the way, and singing is a big part of that. And so I teach my students to find a nice tree, and I always say, ask first, may I step into your energy, and sit with it and notice if a hum starts, just if a hum starts. And if a hum starts, maybe a chant that you might not recognize, or some words might come out. And then you can start to get this power song. It can take a while. Some people get power songs in a minute. I'm not one of them. It took me 3 years to get my power song, but I didn't give up. And I sing my power song before I teach, before I work on clients, and when I have to get into a spiritual space. So that's really important to me, to have that song. And I never sing it except for that. So you move into this unbelievable spiritual space when you only sing a song when you move into a spiritual space.
That's so funny. I think we covered that a few weeks ago in one of our shows. And so after that, I became very aware of that I did have a song and that I sang it all the time, but I had never put my conscious awareness to it. So right following that, because then I was like, oh yeah, I recorded it on my phone. I was like, oh, I got to tell Sandra I have a song. And I was like in Home Depot, and I'm like in the aisle recording the song. And so then I was on a Zoom listening into somebody else's Zoom recently, like listening into one of my classes that I wasn't leading.
Renee, we have to stop for a second.
And so I was on this Zoom that one of my classes or something that my assistant was leading, and I didn't know my mic wasn't on mute. And there I was, I started humming my song. I was like, and then all of a sudden she goes, so Renee, is there something you got to say or sing? So I just wasn't even really aware of it. So there's probably a lot of you out there like me who bulldoze through life and aren't even aware of these little tricks and tools that you really have at your disposal. And, I've probably been humming and singing that song for, as long as I remember. And I think so that that's a very powerful one to learn it. So I could call it up, I do use the Vedic mantras that I use, and they come in handy. They really do, because they shift your vibration quickly. But so does humming your song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what I used to do when I go out into nature or go on a vision quest or something, is I would record the songs that were coming through because I knew I would never remember them. But my main two power songs were songs that came to me that I never forgot. And they're really important for me. And one of my songs that I sing, which I've been singing since I started teaching, and I started teaching when I was 29, I'm still singing the song. I don't care what state I'm in, it will just bring me back right into center. So I love what you said, Renee, about the wind breathing, and anything that works with your breath, and song is part of that. And I know I shared on another show, I really believe we could get people off of antidepressants if people would just sing more.
We'll send you into the treatment centers. I think I have one more before we finish up, is that cooking. You know, when you go out to a restaurant, you can get all hurried and all bothered, and, you know, but when you start to work with vegetables, especially ones that you've grown yourself, that's even more exciting, or picked up at the market so that you have a relationship to them the whole experience, even the ones you buy in the grocery store. But when I'm really out of sorts, I find myself cooking. And this has been a really important technique around the holidays for me, because one of my adult things was to recreate holidays that I enjoyed. And what I found was they always centered around preparing food. And, you know, because I think really cooking saved my life anyway, but that I still use that as a go-to when I'm spinning out, that I will chop onions and carry water.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you listen to what we've been saying, everything that we're saying is really simple. And so it really is. We keep repeating this line over, or I do anyway. The key is really living a simple life. And you can see that people cannot handle the stress levels anymore, period. Everybody is on overwhelm. Everybody's on overwhelm. And that kind of goes into our next show. But when you're on overwhelm, life is not working for you on any level. And so bringing yourself back into balance and finding tools that work for you is going to keep your sanity during these coming times, and keep your mind from driving you absolutely crazy, and let spirit hold you in love, and let your heart speak to you, and let your body speak to you, and learn how to listen, and balance will be yours.
Absolutely. So we say it every week: hit the subscribe button, share with us your balance techniques on the YouTube channel or on the Facebook group, the Shamans Cave. And, you know, it'd be fun to see how many different ways that we find our balance, how many ways we can share. So we really look forward to being with you, because this is one thing I know that helps keep me balanced, is sitting here having this conversation every other week right at the moment with you. And, you know, and I honor that, and may we all walk in balance.
Blessings, everyone.